What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining us on another FCP Euro DIY. Today, we're going to be working on a 2006 Porsche Cayman 987.1. Today on the Cayman behind me, we're going to be covering how to replace your engine air filter. In front of me, we have a Hanks filter. The typical interval for these 987s and most cars is between 15 to 30,000 miles. Or every year or 2 years, depending on what kind of driving your car does and what kind of weather it sees. So if you live somewhere really dusty, maybe you want to do the early interval. If it does just light weekend driving, maybe you do the 2-year, 30,000 mile interval. Regardless, today we're going to be installing a Hanks filter, which is available on fcpo.com. But before we get started on this DIY, let's take a look at some of the tools we're going to need for this job. For this job, you're going to need or may want a small trim removal tool. This will help us prop up the carpet inside the car. A T30 to get the 5 bolts that hold our engine shield in place. A Phillips head screwdriver, your ratchet of choice. You can use a 1/4 inch or a 3/8 drive. Today we have a 3/8 drive electric ratchet. This will just be for the hardware holding the shield down. Now with that, let's go ahead and get started on this DIY. All right, my good people, we are over at the Cayman. Just be mindful when working on these hip beauties. You wear something that's soft clothing. You don't want to scratch up the paint on the side of your car. No buttons or belt buckles or things like that. First things first is we're going to go ahead and remove our carpeting insulation up top here. I like to use a small trim removal tool just to pop the carpeting up on the end here. And then we can lift it up. And we can just tuck it over here to the side for now. Now with that, we have access to our engine heat shield here. We have 5 T30s holding this down, 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom. So we can go ahead and get those out now. We're just going to use our T30 on our electric ratchet to zap these out. And we can just go ahead and lift this out of the way and set it to the side. All right, at this point we have access to our engine air box, which is over here on the driver's side of the vehicle. Yeah, it's usually held in by 2 pieces of hardware. This one has a Phillips on the far side and nothing on this side. Maybe a zip tie at some point. We'll go ahead and try to remedy that. But for now, we'll take our Phillips head screwdriver and get this screw out. Again, normally you would have 2 pieces of hardware holding this in. Then with that, we can lift this cover off. And now that we have this cover off, we have access to our nasty air filter, which is held in by 1 more Phillips screw right up top of here. So we'll go ahead and get that one off next. This has definitely been in here for a long while. All right, now with that off, we should be able to pull this filter back a little bit, sliding it towards the front of the car, if you will. But with that, let's go ahead and grab our new one and get this installed. All right, now that we have our old filter out, take a moment to kind of clean the air box, wipe it down if it's pretty grimy like ours was. Just use some simple clean degreaser, give it a little wipe down. In extreme cases, you may need to vacuum it out if it's very filthy, but in our case, it wasn't that bad, seeing as how the old filter was only 2 years old. Now we're gonna go ahead and feed our new filter in. Again, the threaded hole portion on the top so that we can bolt it back into our air box. On the air box here, there is an opening on the rear portion of the box, if you will, towards the back of the car, that the opening of the air filter keys onto. Once you get that seated all the way, your bolt hole will line up. It can be a little tricky to get it lined up the first time. Once it keys on, it's going to pretty much stay in place. Then we can take our smart Phillips screw, get that one situated up top here. There's the same bolt for the lid and the screw securing the filter. Same screw for both, I should say. Then once we have that installed, we can reinstall our cover. Small tab on the bottom that keys in the inside of the air box to help that seal up properly. And then we take our next Phillips head screw. And in this case, this car has a broken tab, which is why this is not sealing properly. So we're going to take a moment. We'll secure this a little bit better, maybe a small zip tie. And then from there, we'll reinstall our engine cover. All right, now that we have our airbox buttoned up, we're going to reinstall our engine heat shield. Make sure all your bolt holes are lining up nicely. Then we'll install our 5 T30s. We'll get them started by hand first, so we know they're all going to be good to rock and roll. And with that secured, now we can install our insulation. And we can go ahead and feed this carpeting in. Key it in on the back side first. Pop it over the front. And that is going to conclude this DIY for today, my good people. Overall, a really easy job on the 997. This is your first time wrenching on your Cayman. This is a great first time DIY, similar to an oil change DIY. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any other questions or comments on what we did today, leave those in the comment section below, especially if you want to see a specific job on this chassis. And if you like this DIY and you want to see more like them, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.